Yeah, the two wings, like that is a nightmare for them because when Grimes is your best defender, it's already a hard enough time when the opposing team is a taller wing. Like, I mean, we saw it with Brandon Ingram. Like, we talked about last week, neither of us are in a vacuum compared to the average NBA fan, the highest on Brandon Ingram, but he gave Quentin Grimes work. Like that was not RJ did a way better job on Brandon Ingram than Grimes did, and I think that's going to be the case for wings. Like I would rather have RJ on Tatum. I would rather have RJ on George and Kawhi. And now, like, I just think that, and now you're telling me the Clippers have two of these guys like that. And I'm not saying that Grimes is like a below average defender against these guys or has no chance. I just think that it's a tough matchup for him. Um, yeah, I don't, I mean, beyond that, um, I Terrence Mann, I think, is still going to be out. I mean, obviously, it's a ways away. It's almost a week away as we're recording this, but Mann hasn't played yet this season. Russ is Russ. Like, again, not the biggest Russ fan overall, but look, his energy, the way he fights for offensive rebounds, with how lackadaisical the Knicks can get, like Russ is the type of player to exploit that. And then also, if you're telling me that RJ and Grimes are going to be on George and Kawhi, like, okay, so that puts Brunson on Russ. That's not good.
Yeah, that doesn't
So
sound good. No.
yeah, that's not good. So okay, so what do you do? Do you put Randall and do you get Randall into the equation and put him on one of Kawhi or George, and then put RJ on the other one and have Grimes guard Russ? That's a
That's what
solution.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking
Yeah,
Randall's on Kawhi. I don't think it's going to be RJ on Kawhi. I think RJ is
yeah.
probably going to be either matched up with George or Russ.
So for the Knicks to win this game, and I'll say this, if they were neutral courts, I would actually feel better about the Bucks game than the Clippers game. That's how, like, from a matchup standpoint, I feel much better about the Bucks than the Clippers. If the Knicks are going to win this game, it needs to be a bench win because the Clippers' depth is their weakness. I know they have Norman Powell off the bench, but like they're giving serious minutes to like Robert Covington right now because Terrence Mann's out. Their 5 through 9 is not a strong point for this team. So if you look at the lineup data, and again, small sample size, it's early, the Knicks bench has not been what they were the last few seasons. And we hope it gets right against Cleveland and it starts to build momentum into the Bucks and the Clippers game. But if it continues to stall and continues to struggle as they infuse DiVincenzo into this lineup, the Clippers game needs to be a get right game for the bench unit. And I think that that's when they can start to thrive. We know Quickly, we know DiVincenzo, we know Hart, we know all these guys are capable of impacting individually, but it would be nice to see them have some of those, crazy impactful games as a unit that we saw so regularly last season.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think the bench is going to be the determining factor of like not even whether the Knicks win this game, but whether they're like in this game at the end is how I'm viewing it. One thing that's a little bit makes me a little bit pessimistic is that the Clippers, I believe, have 4 days of rest before this game too. So they play against the Lakers and then they have 4 days off and then they play the Knicks. So they're going to be well rested. And then not only that, they don't play a back-to-back the next day and they stay in New York and play the Nets 2 days later. So there's not even a reason for that these guys won't be able to play like not big minutes, but big minutes for an early regular season game. So I don't know. I don't know how much the bench is going to factor in, but I agree with you. The Clippers, if you're talking about the Clippers, their weakness is got to be their bench. I'm not a big Norman Powell guy. I think he had his best years in Toronto, and I don't think that he's reached that level recently. And even a guy like Batum has been pretty solid for them, but the rest of them, they're kind of. I think that is their weakness. That is where you get them, but. I think
If anybody wants a laugh go look at XJ. Find XJ, the XJ video of him breaking down the sixth man of the year candidate from last year. Because like,
Yeah, because Norman
you
Powell
know,
was in that
you're like
conversation.
one of the nicest guys ever. But I could tell that you were trying so hard to hide your disdain for the fact that this was even a conversation. Like anytime you brought up Norman Powell and quickly in the same conversation, I could just see you wanting to be like, why the fuck? Like, why is this a discussion? What are we doing right now?
Yeah, I can't lie. I do not think Norman Powell should have been anywhere near the sixth man of the year conversation last year. That was the most bizarre thing to me, that he was like a part of the dialogue. Like, well, what about Norman Powell? He's been scoring a lot off this. Like, okay, what conversation are we having here?
This season is going as planned, by the way. Malcolm Brogdon is off to such a nice start. He will not sniff the sixth man of the year conversation,
No,
putting
it
up
doesn't matter.
being more impactful in Portland than in Boston. It won't matter. It won't matter at all.
I hope he has his best season of his career, like by far, off the bench. And then I'm gonna go to all Celtics fans and just ask them who they think the sixth man of the year is, and actually rank them. Like Brogdon will be like 10th. It's like, no, it's not much for Brogdon this year.
He's
but
just like not impacting winning as much as he was last season because
yeah.
his teammates are worse, like that's
exactly. Yeah, honestly, that might be a argument that they use. But
I can't believe that the Knicks ended up better on the court with Quickly last season than the Celtics were with Brogdon on the court. Because like people would always say to me, like, no, like Brogdon's hurt like in the net on off by his team being so good. And I'm like, yeah, but he also has way better teammates. They should be better with him on the court than the Knicks are with Quickly on the court. What you're saying doesn't make any sense. If his teammates are so good,
doesn't add up.
What?
It doesn't add up, and it's that conversation was like, probably since I've been involved in like NBA media, for lack of a better term, the most annoying discussion I've ever been a part of. And trust me, we're in the Knicks fan community on social media, and this was the number one by far for me annoying conversation that I've ever been a part of. The argument for Malcolm Brogdon over Quickly as sixth man of the year. So that has given me trauma flashbacks for sure. But yeah, so Norman Powell won't be in the conversation this year, and that's why you can definitely exploit the Clippers bench. But I think it's going to be tough, and I think Paul George and Kawhi are going to play 30 plus minutes. So I tend to agree with you. I think they might have a better chance at the Bucks game than they do at the Clippers game. So